On Friday, May 22nd, 2026, the New York Times published an article discussing an internal memo that they were able to retrieve from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The Trump administration stated that effective immediately, emotional support animals would be excluded from the definition of an assistance animal under the Fair Housing Act. The Americans with Disabilities Act, specifically Titles 2 and 3, protected disabled individuals' right to be accompanied by a task-trained service animal. The Fair Housing Act, however, protects a disabled tenant's right to live with their assistance animal, which is a combination definition of both emotional support animals and service dogs. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, a service animal is defined as a dog or a miniature horse that is specifically trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability. The Fair Housing Act describes an assistance animal as any animal that is either trained to do work or perform tasks or to provide emotional support that directly mitigates the symptoms of one's disability. The Trump administration is now changing that definition to only cover task-trained service animals. The Trump administration is claiming that this is to crack down on those that are using an emotional support animal letter as a way to circumvent pet fees. This is a very real, chronic issue that service dog handlers have been discussing for years. These businesses, which a lot of handlers refer to as letter mills, produce fraudulent documents that state that a dog is an emotional support or a service animal without confirming that they actually have a disability. In order for an emotional support animal to live in non-pet-friendly housing, they're required to present a doctor's note stating that this animal is a reasonable accommodation. These letter mills make their money by either preying on desperate, uneducated people, or by people that know exactly what they're doing. Obviously, these businesses are highly unethical and have been a massive issue for well over a decade. Instead of outlawing these letter mills and shutting down their businesses, they've once again decided to punish disabled people and remove emotional support animals from the Fair Housing Act altogether, just like they did with the Air Carriers Access Act a few years ago. This change basically means that landlords can now push back on where people obtain their emotional support animal letters. Now it's up to the landlord's discretion whether or not they feel that an emotional support animal letter is fake. In order to contest this, a disabled tenant would now have to take the landlord to the Court of the Housing and Urban Development and pretty much have to prove that their letter is legitimate. We already have laws in place to protect landlords from these fake letters. This means that landlords can now evict tenants and their emotional support dogs under the guise that they think a letter is fake. This now further restricts housing options for disabled individuals and puts thousands of tenants and their emotional support animals at risk of being evicted. A lot of states already have state laws in place that will protect disabled tenants. This is another consequence of non-disabled people's actions directly affecting disabled people because they were selfish and didn't want to pay a pet fee. We need to push back against the letter mills themselves and outlaw those. Together, we can push back against this and hopefully pressure lawmakers into dropping this altogether and instead pushing back against the letter mills and not disabled people.